Hey everybody, it's Alan. Hope you are doing well. As many of you, I'm sure, are aware, I am a huge Faith No More fan. My favorite album is King for a Day, Fool for a Lifetime, followed by Album of the Year. But I do also love probably their most critically acclaimed album, which is Angel Dust. I would personally put that in my personal rankings as at number 3, even though I know many FNM fans will say that Angel Dust is their best album. I get that. It's a great album. I just it's third on my list. But with that said, I wanted to play a really, really, really killer tune called Malpractice. That song is a perfect example why you can't put Faith No More into a simple little nice neat boxed category for the average consumer radio and record buying market. They are so much more than just a rock band. I mean, think about that particular song. How many different transactions did that song bounce through, right? Still had very repeated, cycles within it, but there's so much diversity within that one song alone that it should be clear and evident that they just don't fit into a nice, neat little box, which is probably why, to a certain degree, Faith No More has had some limited success. At the time period that they came out with a lot of bands that got a lot bigger than they did over the years. And Faith No More has stood by their artistry as opposed to just seeking out fame and fortune. So they've stuck to their creative ethic and have not allowed the pressures of the recording industry and the music industry and as a whole dictate what they would do and where they would go. They're not a band that follows a formula. They're a band that follows their creative whims. And it, to me, is a lot more interesting music than most of the stuff that was produced during this time period. And in the grand scheme of things, Faith No More, although never achieving that massive, massive, massive success as many contemporary bands of theirs had, their lore and their legacy is far more reaching, because a lot of the bands that came out during this particular time period, they had a few hits and then they kind of disappeared. They're probably playing the sort of oldies, classic rock, 80s hair rock, venues these days, and they're not really having anybody anticipate new music. But I remember when Faith No More's most recent album came out, a lot of Faith No More fans were nervously anticipating it. And I know some people were disappointed, but other people were like, oh my God, they've continued on with that brilliant creativity that's made them one of the most eclectic bands of the last 30 to 40 years. And I've always appreciated Faith No More. I always have. And that will never be a thing that stops. I don't even need to point out individuals. I don't need to pick out Mike Borden, or I don't need to point out Robbie Gold. I don't need to pick out, obviously, Mike Patton. They're all phenomenal musicians who come together and create really interesting, unique music. In some instances, you might even be able to consider them sort of a hard rock, sort of iteration of a artist like Tom Waits, who's not playing music for the average person, who's playing music for sort of the artistic minded person, the individual, not the sort of collective pop soul of what mainstream marketing pushes into the ears of, for lack of a better term, very passive music listeners who think they're massive music fans. But realistically, they're more than happy to just listen to whatever is pumped into their eardrums through their car stereos or their streaming service. And they're not really necessarily seeking out anything unique or individual. Honestly, it's the only excuse I can come up with for the popularity of EDM and house music and stuff like that. Music that has absolutely no soul and no creative aspect to it. It's just formulated techno music that's created on, computers and synthesizers and drum loops and drum machines. And there's no soul to it all. Its entire purpose is to just keep a beat and keep people occupied while they get, messed up in a bar listening to a DJ spin music that he didn't even create. Again, I'm an organic musician. I prefer music created by musicians and recorded by musicians, and music that isn't following a formula, that lets the artist actually, put out something that's intriguing and unique, as opposed to the same standard formulated pop hits that are going around for the last 20 years or so. I know I've swung off on a diatribe and I didn't really mean to do that, but That's one of the things about Faith No More. It's like they get my brain going and my brain starts to flow. And I wonder sometimes why they weren't bigger than they have been. But they're still a huge band. I mean, they're a classic band in this respect, but people who are fans never lose their fandom. We just don't stick with them through thick and thin, through hell nor high water. Anyway, hope you enjoyed that. Please feel free to leave a comment in the comment section below. Just know that I appreciate you and I wish you well. Take care.